HYPERCAR Mountain.
Hi, this is Larry Hatch with another exciting episode of HYPERCAR Mountain. And this is Cool Finds number 2. In each of the Cool Finds episodes, we're going to go through 4 individual vehicles that are interesting, rare, uncommon, of exceptional quality or note. Some of them have some historical merit to them as individual vehicles or as models. And I want to go into that a little bit. Our first vehicle is the SIKU Audi Q 4.2 Quattro, as it was known, and that is based on a 4.2 liter V8 engine, and it was the first of the big German SUVs. We have a lot of those now. The BMW X8 is an absolute monster, and they were responding, of course, to the lucrative American market and other countries too that really need big SUVs. There are places where there are big families and lots of wealthy people, so hey, it's not just an American market car. It is not a supercar, obviously, but it was very expensive. And the modern equivalent of it, which is probably the Q7, they run about $70,000-$80,000, so it is a fairly pricey car in 2020. They did have a whopping 350 horsepower from the 4.2 liter V8 engine, and for a European SUV, 350 horsepower is quite a lot. They were very big vehicles with 27 cubic feet, which is larger than the modern BMW X5, for example, that some of you may be familiar with. It was a little shorter than the VW Touareg, but that's only mostly because of design features. It had a fairly similar amount of cubic space in it. They were sold mostly from 2006, 2007, and following years. I don't have the exact range of it. Could not find it actually, and I don't know. It doesn't have a modern analog per se, other than the Q7 and the Q8, which they sell today. It only came from SIKU in this dark maroon with a gray interior and grayish wheels. I went on eBay this morning and it's no longer for sale. Out of hundreds of Audis, can't find one. Now SIKU does make a dark red. It's a brighter, less maroon red of the Q5. You see that around. That's a much smaller machine, and some ambulance versions of the larger Q7, for example. You don't find these at American collections, any of them. I don't talk to a lot of American collectors. We don't have SIKUs in our stores anymore, at least in the cities that I visit. So you pretty much have to mail order them, meaning that you're probably a pretty hardcore collector, not just looking at peg finds. So anyway, it's a very beautiful vehicle. If you look at the tail section, it's got red tail lamps, and the 4 interlocking Audi rings are well done. The license plate, however, is not contrasting color, and it does have 2 silver tail lamps, which are nice. The grille is absolutely smashing, as you can see here. Very detailed headlamps. The doors open. Also, and it's got a beautiful silver ring around the grille. You know, just a really nice looking SUV. And man, like I say, it's no longer sold on eBay, so it's a pretty darn neat collectible. The next car we have here is the RMZ City Maserati Granturismo. And as you know, RMZ and a couple other companies are making series of GT cars, Granturismo, kind of a connection with the video games. But a lot of those are concept or fantasy cars, frankly. But the Maserati GT is a real car. You can walk into your Maserati dealer and purchase one if you'd like. In fact, the Maserati GT has been made since 1947. It was called the Maserati A6 1500 GT and had a beautiful body by Pininfarina. But this modern car has been made from 2007 to 2020 and continues. And it's a really beautiful coupe. I've seen a few of them on the road. You occasionally could mistake them for a Jaguar coupe, unless you saw the Trident on it. But I actually think it's a better looking coupe than most of the European sports coupes, such as the Jaguars. And it's got a kind of a gravitas to it, almost like you almost think it could be a Ferrari. It's really of that quality. In fact, Ferrari actually designed the engine. That was back when Maserati and Ferrari were both part of Fiat Chrysler family. So there was a lot of technology transfer between Maserati and Ferrari. Being they're both Italian firms, it wasn't such a big thing. In fact, the Maserati SUV that's currently out has a Ferrari engine. They almost put a Cherokee Hemi in there, which is a great engine, but just the idea of a Jeep engine in a $150,000 Maserati made a few people nauseous, I guess. Anyway, the real car, the Granturismo Sport, is $135,000 to $150,000. So this is one serious investment. The convertible version is even more. It's about $150,000 to $170,000, depending on how you spec it. Car and Driver did a review of it, and their test car was $152,000. The really horrible thing about this car, as nice as it looks on the surface, is the windows are blacked out. There's no interior detail. And there's no chassis engine detail either. So that's kind of disappointing on a car that's selling for $13 to $20. There should have been much more effort on that. The tail is very simple, just red tail lamps, nothing else. The wheels are pretty firm, but they're a simple chrome. You would not generally find chrome on a Maserati GT out of the showroom. They'd be a matte metallic of some kind, or carbon fiber even. The grille of this car is a little better. You got silver, simple headlamps and a blacked out grille. You do have the Maserati Trident on the front of the hood, but it doesn't really stand out. This model from RMZ comes in yellow, red, and a medium blue. I just happen to have the yellow here. Motor Trend reviewed the car in 2018 and really loved it, and said it was the last of the traditional Grand Tours. They weren't expecting to see more of them, and that's probably correct. I have a feeling though Maserati and Jaguar and Ferrari are going to make some racy coupes, gentlemen's cars in the future, but they might not be quite as traditional as this thing is. The GT Sport makes 454 horsepower, and the base GT has a 0 to 60 seconds of 4.9. The Sport is got a couple more horsepower and does 4.7 seconds. It is a 4.7 liter V8 that is, quote, Ferrari derived, but Ferrari designed it, so we'll go with that. And again, like I said, that's because they were both Italian car manufacturers and required to work together as part of the Fiat Chrysler family. Ferrari is a separate corporation now, as many of you will know. It is a fairly rare car, even for 150. I did a search on Maserati's website to see if I could see one locally. I have seen some in North Carolina at a Maserati dealership, but not currently. In fact, I did a nationwide search for the GT Sport, and there were only 14 cars in the entire country going from the East Coast all the way out to California. Wow. So if you got one of these, There's probably not a lot of them cruising around. Anyway, our third car is a very interesting car. You can see it here. It's a beautiful little convertible sports car. And you can see, I think if you look at the back of it, you can see those familiar Corvette taillights. This is a very unusual thing for the diecast world. This is the first time a car that I know has been released in diecast form that was not a concept before the actual car came out. And this, my friends, is the much awaited top secret Corvette E-Ray. General Motors trademarked the name E-Ray for an electronic Corvette. And here it is in diecast form. And isn't it beautiful? Okay, I'm having a little April Fool's joke on you. This is not the future electronic Corvette. I was going to say it'll start at 30,000 with 400 horsepower, but you probably wouldn't believe me on that either. Okay, it looks like a baby Corvette, but it's actually something quite different. It's made by Tommykaira, and it's very, very limited, very hard to find. You'll find one or two of them on eBay occasionally. So if you see one and like it, grab it. It's made by a company called Tommykaira. And when I saw Tommykaira, I was like, wait a minute, that means it's some kind of a fantasy car from the toy company. Well, no. It's actually called the Gt ZZ in the second generation. But people call it the Tommykaira Gt ZZ today. It was first built in 2010 as the real car, and they had some problems, and some people from Kyoto University, which is a very prestigious university, I think I'm right in calling it maybe the MIT of Japan. Some staff from there and students resurrected the Tommykaira Keijin ZZ in 2014, started a new corporation, and they exist to present to revive this car and to keep it going. I don't know how many have been sold. I can't really find that information. But it has been called Japan's Tesla Roadster. That's sort of the kind of approach it has. It is an electronic vehicle, and the price is set at $80,000. There's some unusual things about it, other than that whole Tesla Roadster lightweight fast thing. It does have 305 to 309 horsepower, depending on who you talk to, but the body only weighs 850 kilograms, and that'll give it a 0 to 60 of 3.9 seconds. Pretty respectable for an $80,000 car. And it goes up to 180 miles an hour. They've tested it. The one creative thing about it is it doesn't have any pillars at all. They made a polycarbonate resin windshield. It's very strong, and so there's no pillars on it at all, and that gives it a nice clean look. The Tommykaira only comes in the yellow with a black stripe and these Corvette-like headlights. The wheels are quite springy. They have a familiar Tommykaira type wheel with a silver ring and inset black spokes. There is no chassis detail at all. It's a big flat slab, and but it is a real car. The problem with it is it only has, or at least in the past, had a 75-mile range. So, it's not going to be what the new Tesla Roadster is by any means. But obviously it'll be a collector's car, and I suspect the Japanese will collect that. The fourth car we're going to look at today is this beautiful orange Lamborghini Murcielago. And this is from the Hot Wheels Fast and Furious series. And it's actually a metallic medium orange. and it does not have the spoiler on it, which I think the movie cars had. Anyway, the movie is Fate of the Furious from the Fast and Furious series. I have not seen it. Probably a lot of you did. And they actually mocked up a number of these Lamborghinis for the movies. If you know anything about movie cars, they'll make anywhere from 3 to 10. I've even heard some movies had 20 cars because they were going to crash so many. Some were just for interior shots. Some were just for being pulled on a truck. But I think they said they made 5 for this movie of the 2003 Murcielago. And the reason I like this car is that another YouTuber, his name is Tavares, I think his first name is Freddie, got a call one day, and he kind of has a channel where he builds supercars out of trashed cars, burnt cars, abandoned cars, whatever. He takes a very hopeless car, and with his skill and his friend's skills, puts them together back as they should be, often with modifications to improve them, to modernize them, I should say, really. And his show is all about restoring these valuable cars from nothing into really beautiful machines. So look for Tavares, search for Tavarish on YouTube, and you can see some of his work. He got a call from a friend who was connected to the movie and said, hey, there's one of those movie cars left, and it does run, and it's only $80,000. It had carbon fiber body, so it had a lot of damage, had lots of stuff wrong with it. But again, remember, this is a $175,000 to $250,000 car, depending on the condition and the spec of it, if you were to buy one used today. So for 80 grand, he couldn't resist it. So he got one, brought it into his garage. Yeah, it did need a lot of work, and he went on the project of restoring it, and he has videos on that. The one thing about his car that was a little special and even a better deal at $80,000 was that it not only had a hand-built V12 making 580 horsepower, it actually had the manually gated version, which was rare on the 2003 Murcielago. And he determined that the manually gated transmission cars were worth $300,000 if they were perfect. So, wow. $80,000 restored to $300,000. And again, look up Tavares' website. And I've got some pictures here of him, one in his garage and one later at the SEMA show with Shmi 150, also known as Tim Burton. And the two of them are talking about the fully restored Murcielago at the SEMA show. And of course, a lot of people at that show were familiar with the movie and that particular car. So it's kind of a nice story where a movie car was restored through lots of love and devotion, and there are several YouTube videos about it in addition to the original movie. So, hey, I thought that was a fun little story to tell, and again, you can dive into that at those other websites if you like to. But anyway, thanks for listening, and really appreciate you guys. Thanks. Please subscribe.
HYPERCAR Mountain. HYPERCAR Mountain.